Hello, I have with me today Michael Cole, who is the co-founder of Lawrence Wish. Thank you for stopping by the Secretary of State's office. Can you tell us a little bit more about Lawrence Wish and the great work that you're working on right now?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. Lawrence Wish started for the namesake of my daughter, Lauren, who we lost July 9th, 2020 of a fentanyl poisoning. And Lauren was a social worker, graduated from WVU with a social work degree, was getting her master's in social work, was a WVU cheerleader. And she had a passion for helping those who were marginalized by society and suffering from substance use disorder, even though she also was battling herself with that. And about 3 weeks before she passed, and during a clean period, she came out to the house for dinner, as she did several times a week. And I was out in the yard just picking up sticks, monkeying around, and she was walking with me, and finally she said, can I talk to you about something? And I said, yeah. And she said, Dad, there's so many people that struggle with addiction that don't have the money or resources or family to get help. Do you think one day when you retire, we could do something to help them? And I told her we would. And she stopped in her tracks and grabbed me by the arm and twisted me and made me look eye to eye with her. And she said, I'm being serious, Dad. And I said, Lauren, if that's what you want to do, yeah, you and I can figure out what we can do together. 3 weeks later, approximately, she had to quarantine for possible COVID exposure and disrupted her whole routine. And unfortunately, during that period, Lauren relapsed and was sold a fatal dose of fentanyl. I didn't know what to do with myself at the time, but I remembered the conversation we had had just a few weeks prior, and I made a commitment to her that we would do something to help. And I have a very good friend who lost his nephew on this particular day, and I called Eddie and I said, that's enough. We need to do something about this. And he agreed. He said, whatever you want to do, count me in. I called another friend of mine that graduated high school with me that his nephew suffered from addiction. And I said, JT, enough's enough. We need to do something about this. And he said, again, whatever you want to do, I'm in. His brother-in-law joined. Dr. Blankenship from Jacob's Ladder joined our board. And then a lifelong friend of mine, they lost their son who was getting his PhD 2 years prior. His mother joined our board, and we analyzed and looked at everything that was going on in the recovery system. And what we experienced with Lauren and what everybody else shared that they experienced was hospitals aren't equipped to deal with overdoses. They come in, they make sure they're okay, but they kind of shuffle them right back out. And they put them right back out in the environment that brought them there. And, this is a brain disease. So even though they just went through a horrific experience with an overdose, their brain says they have to do it again. Mm-hmm. And for those that don't suffer from addiction, it's difficult to know and understand that. But that's how it operates. And so we talked about that void and putting them right out the door and said, that's where we can step in. So Lawrence Wish was created up at Hazel's House of Hope. We rented a wing up there. We have 24 beds. Okay. We have 16 peer recovery coaches and counselors on staff. It's 24/7. And we worked out with both hospitals, Mon Health as well as Ruby's, so that whenever they have an individual come in from an overdose experience and they're willing to accept help and there's no beds available, then either they will transport them to us or we'll go pick them up. But we don't put them out the door. Okay, we bring them back up into our space where it's a safe, non-judgmental environment. They begin their recovery process working through our counselors. And why they're doing that on a daily basis, our counselors are doing research and trying to find the next recovery program, be it a 28-day program for them. And once they locate that and they have a bed available, then we transport them there. Again, we don't put them out into the public and say, go to this address. We physically take them to that recovery center and they start the 28-day program. Now their initial stay with us has been averaging, we've been open over 2 years. Their initial stay with us is right around 6 days for that first visit. They go to the 28-day program. At the end of the 28-day program, we've been in contact with them throughout the entire process. So we know when the 28 days is up, and if they're willing to go into further, like a sober living, we go pick them up at the recovery center. We bring them back to our facility again. They continue with their individual counseling and their group counseling and the other activities that we have. And our staff does the same thing. They do their research. They find the best fit for them in a long-term sober center. We transport them there. Distance doesn't matter. We traveled over 15,000 miles last year, picking up clients and taking them one place to the other. The interesting thing about Lauren's Wish, we do not charge for our services. If you remember when Lauren and I talked, her concern was either people don't have family or resources. She didn't feel that resources should be a reason why or why not somebody received help. Mm-hmm. If they're willing to accept it, she believed that they should have it. So we don't charge. And it makes it difficult on us, but we've been extremely fortunate that we've been out in front of the public. We've survived over 2 years now through private donations, our fundraising events, which we have this May will be our 4th annual fashion show and our 2nd annual Lauren's Wish Clay Shoot. September will be our 5th annual golf tournament. So we're willing to work on our own, and so that helps us, as well as private donations and as well as grants. You know, we apply for every grant that we possibly can to keep our facility up and going. It costs a lot more than what I thought that it was going to. But again, when you have no money coming in, you have to really work hard to keep it going. The feedback from our clients, I go up about 3 times a week and spend time with them and talk with them. Since I've been doing that in over 2 years, 100% of the feedback has been absolutely positive. They said, you know, they'll tell you, Mr. Cole, you know, this place is amazing. Mr. Cole, if we would have had this 5 years ago, I would have already been on the road to recovery. You know, this place is unreal. Thank you so much. We get letters written to us. So it just reaffirms that we did find that void in the recovery system, and it is different because we can't monetize what we do, so therefore nobody else does it, but we're doing it. October was our 2nd anniversary, so we've been open about 2 years and 5 months. Last weekend we eclipsed 900 clients we've helped at this point.
Wow.
Of those 900 clients, we have successfully placed 89% of them into their next recovery program. Both numbers far exceeded anything that we would have imagined. It's unfortunate the numbers that great, but it's fortunate that we're there. And you know, Lauren and I agreed to do this together, and unfortunately she's not here, but I think she's guiding me from above.
Sure she is.
And you know, making a big difference. Kids should be able to learn from their mistakes. They shouldn't die from them.
Right.
And
where can folks find you on the web?
if you go to lawrencewish.org, it has all of our history and a lot about Lauren on there, and you know, her story and her life. This disease does not discriminate, but also on that site it gives them an opportunity to donate to us. So as I shared with you, it's very expensive to run and do what we do, but we don't want to charge our clients. We don't want anyone to feel that, you know, money's the reason why they can get help.
Very important gap that's being filled.
It is. It is.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, we would like to use Lauren's Wish as a pilot program and expand it throughout the state. Unfortunately, there's still a great need for it, and our data that we've collected thus far has justified that, you know, it truly is needed. So what we're doing is working. Our success rate is extremely high. National average is about 4 to 5% success. So again, we want to duplicate this or pilot program this throughout the state. And then our next step would be to have a long-term women's facility, a 6-month program that would mirror Jacob's Ladder, but would be called Lauren's Ladder. So I don't know if you're familiar with Jacob's Ladder or not, but obviously Dr. Blankenship started Jacob's Ladder, and he's one of our board members of Lauren's Wish.
Great.
So obviously we have the opportunity to mirror that for the female side and help address this issue.
Really appreciate you coming in. I know your bill passed the Senate, and it'll move on to the House and the governor's desk, and we wish you the best. And if there's anything we can ever do to help you out of the Secretary of State's office, please let us know.
I really appreciate that. And you know, today was a big step. You know, we can't change what happened to us, and we can't change our situation, but what we can do is help somebody else. And that's what we want to do. We want to help somebody else, and today was a step in that direction.
Great. Well, thanks. I take it you still live in Morgantown?
I do.
All right.
I do.
We miss Morgantown after 30 years, so we'll have to be back soon.
Look you up.
Hey, thanks again for being here today.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for watching.